It's the year 404 BCE. In a city called Sinope, nestled on the shores of the Black Sea, a child is born who will one day challenge the very norms of society. Sinope is known for its strategic location along ancient trade routes, making it a hub of commerce and cultural exchange. But with wealth comes challenges. The child's father is a banker in this bustling city, and he faces significant issues with currency counterfeiting. Imagine the stress of trying to maintain the stability of a financial system amidst such fraudulent activities. These struggles will eventually lead this family to leave Sinope. They flee to the city of Athens, seeking a safer environment for their family and their future. Little do they know that this move will set in motion an extraordinary chain of events. In Athens, the child, now a young man, begins to live a life vastly different from his father's and from the norms of society itself. He discards the trappings of wealth and status, choosing to live on charity, owning little more than a cloak, a staff, and eventually, not even a bowl. But why these choices? What drives this young man to embrace such an unconventional path? As we delve deeper into his story, we'll discover that these choices are not merely a rejection of material wealth, but an embrace of something far more valuable, virtue and truth. In this coasty town, Diogenes' father worked as a banker, handling the currency of Sinope. The task was simple: ensure the integrity of the coins that flowed through the city's economy. But even in this seemingly mundane role, truth and honesty were paramount. However, Diogenes' father faced a significant challenge. Counterfeiters had begun to circulate false currency, undermining the trust that Sinope's citizens placed in their money. The issue was not merely one of financial loss. It struck at the heart of what Diogenes held most sacred: truth and virtue. For him, the integrity of the currency reflected the integrity of society itself. Diogenes, driven by his commitment to truth, decided to take action against these counterfeiters. He began to deface genuine coins, marking them with a chisel to distinguish the real from the fake. His bold act was a radical statement. If society could not maintain its own honesty, he would force it into acknowledging the truth. But this act of defiance did not go unnoticed by those in power. The authorities saw his actions as a direct threat to their control and the stability of Sinope's economy. They responded with swift and harsh judgment. Diogenes was exiled from the city, sent away from the place he called home. Exile for Diogenes meant not just banishment, but an opportunity to live out his philosophical beliefs more fully. It was a chance to reject the comforts and constraints of society and embrace a life of simplicity and truth. In the face of his exile, Diogenes' response was not one of bitterness or regret, but of profound conviction. He chose to live in accordance with his principles, even if it meant being an outcast. In the heart of Greece, the city of Athens hummed with philosophical debates and ideas that would shape Western thought for centuries to come. It was here that Diogenes of Sinope found himself drawn into a new world of intellectual exploration. In Athens, Diogenes became a disciple of Antisthenes, a philosopher who emphasized asceticism and ethical living. Antisthenes himself was a student of Socrates, carrying forward the tradition of questioning societal norms. In Athens, Diogenes' journey was just beginning. His profound conviction in living according to his principles set the stage for a life that would challenge societal norms and advocate for simplicity and virtue. As he delved deeper into philosophical thought, Diogenes' influence grew, inspiring others to question their own values and embrace a more authentic way of life. His legacy would continue to shape the landscape of Athenian philosophy for generations to come. But as he walked the streets of Athens, a new challenge awaited him. How would his radical ideas be received in this city that so valued wisdom and debate? In the heart of Athens, Diogenes walked the streets not as a resident, but as an itinerant, living life on his own terms. He was known for his radical lifestyle and biting critiques of societal norms, challenging the very essence of philosophy itself. He lived circa 412–3023 BCE, a time when the city was buzzing with intellectual debates and philosophical inquiries. Yet Diogenes saw through the polished facade of Athenian society. Unlike his contemporaries, who sought comfort in wealth, Diogenes chose to live as an itinerant, eventually becoming a homeless wanderer. He rejected the material possessions that society coveted. Diogenes' philosophy included radical ideas such as Cosmopolitanism, Asceticism, and Autarky, the belief in self-sufficiency. He believed that true virtue lay not in riches, but in simplicity and resilience. He symbolized his commitment to simplicity by living in a tub or barrel, a stark contrast to the opulent lifestyles of those around him. This unconventional choice was not merely about personal comfort. It was a defiant act against the materialism and superficiality he saw all around him. For Diogenes, true wisdom lay not in grandeur, but in humility and virtue, qualities that could be cultivated without the trappings of wealth or status. His extreme ascetic lifestyle was not just a personal choice, it was a statement, a critique of a society he believed had lost its way in the pursuit of power and riches. In this sense, Diogenes' radical lifestyle became his most powerful tool for challenging societal norms and advocating for a simpler, more virtuous way of life. He lived not to conform but to illuminate the path to true virtue, a path he believed could be walked by anyone willing to question the status quo. And as Diogenes wandered the streets of Athens, his unconventional lifestyle served as both a provocation and an inspiration, a beacon for those seeking a more authentic existence. In the bustling streets of Athens, Diogenes made a most unusual choice for his residence, a large ceramic jar or tub. This unconventional lifestyle was not merely for comfort, but served as a powerful symbol of his philosophy. His decision to live in a tub was a stark rejection of societal norms that valued material wealth and comfort. By adopting such an extreme form of asceticism, Diogenes challenged the prevailing attitudes towards luxury and excess. His tub became a visual reminder of his commitment to simplicity and virtue. Diogenes saw no need for the trappings of conventional life if they did not serve a genuine purpose. His choice to live in such humble surroundings was not just a personal decision, but a statement that resonated deeply with those seeking a more authentic existence. As he wandered the streets of Athens in his tub, Diogenes became a beacon for those who yearned to break free from societal expectations. Alexander the Great, one of history's most legendary conquerors, found himself in Athens during his military campaigns. The young king was said to be fascinated by philosophy and sought out its renowned figures for wisdom and guidance. Among those he wished to meet was Diogenes of Sinope, a man known not only for his philosophical insights, but also for his unconventional lifestyle. Diogenes lived in a large ceramic jar or tub, choosing to embrace simplicity and reject the materialism that society valued so highly. One day, Alexander visited Diogenes at his unusual residence, finding him basking in the sunlight. The king, eager to impress the philosopher with his own importance and power, stood before Diogenes and said, "I am Alexander the Great." Diogenes, without even glancing up, responded simply, "And I am Diogenes of Sinope." Alexander, taken aback by this lack of reverence, asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Diogenes, in his characteristic directness, answered, "Yes, step out of my sunlight." This encounter illustrates Diogenes' fearless criticism of power and his unwavering commitment to truth. For Diogenes, the presence of a great king was no match for the simple pleasures of life he valued so deeply. Diogenes' legacy is not merely one of historical significance, but a profound influence that continues to echo through time. His radical ideas challenged the status quo and advocated for a life of simplicity and virtue. The Cynic school of philosophy owes much of its core principles to Diogenes' teachings. His ideas on radical simplicity and the rejection of societal norms laid the foundation for a philosophical movement that still resonates today. In challenging societal norms, Diogenes advocated for cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are citizens of the world rather than just one city or nation. His teachings on asceticism and self-sufficiency continue to hold relevance in modern times, where material wealth is often prioritized over personal virtue. Diogenes' dynamic and humorous approach to philosophy made his ideas accessible and compelling, drawing both admirers and critics. The influence of Diogenes' radical ideas extends beyond philosophy. They serve as a reminder that simplicity and virtue can be powerful forces in a complex world. Despite living in a humble ceramic jar or tub, Diogenes' teachings have transcended the boundaries of time and place, making his legacy enduring and timeless. In an era where the pursuit of wealth and status is often glorified, Diogenes' emphasis on virtue and simplicity serves as a poignant counterpoint. His ideas continue to provoke thought and challenge conventional wisdom, ensuring that his legacy remains not just historical, but also vitally relevant in the modern age. Diogenes' radical philosophies are more than mere relics of the past. They hold timeless relevance and offer insights that can profoundly shape our lives today. Luxury, a concept that has long been glorified in society, was something Diogenes of Cynic vehemently criticized. He believed that the pursuit of luxury detracted from the path to true virtue. For him, simplicity and austerity were not mere preferences, but fundamental elements of a virtuous life. His choice of a humble abode was not just an act of personal asceticism, but also a bold statement against the excesses he saw around him. Diogenes believed that true virtue could only be achieved through self-restraint and simplicity. This anecdote illustrates Diogenes' unyielding stance on luxury. He saw even the sun, a natural resource, as something to be shared equally and not monopolized. Diogenes mocked the notion that wealth and material possessions were markers of success. He saw them as distractions from the true pursuit of virtue. By choosing to live in a jar and eschewing luxuries, Diogenes demonstrated that the path to virtue lies not in accumulation, but in letting go. His teachings continue to remind us of the power of simplicity in leading a virtuous life. This choice was not merely a statement of poverty, but a profound rejection of conventional comforts. By embracing discomfort, Diogenes challenged the societal norms that equate material wealth with virtue. He believed that true virtue lies in simplicity and self-sufficiency rather than the accumulation of material goods. Diogenes' radical lifestyle included not only living in a tub, but also eschewing luxuries such as clothing beyond the bare minimum. His radical choices were not isolated actions, but part of a larger philosophy that promoted a life of simplicity over material comforts. For Diogenes, the path to virtue did not lie in accumulation, but in letting go of worldly possessions. His teachings continue to resonate, reminding us that true contentment can be found in simplicity rather than the pursuit of conventional comforts. In a world where we are often bombarded with messages to accumulate more, Diogenes' philosophy offers a counterpoint that less can indeed be more. By embracing simplicity, we may discover the profound truths hidden beneath the surface of material comforts. His unconventional choices were more than just personal preference. They were a means to promote personal autonomy and challenge the status quo. One striking aspect of his life was his rejection of material possessions, opting to live in a large ceramic jar or tub. This decision was not merely an act of asceticism, but a profound statement against societal expectations and the trappings of wealth. By living in such a humble abode, Diogenes declared his independence from societal norms and the perceived need for grandeur. His choice was a bold assertion that true freedom lies not in material wealth, but in the simplicity and virtue he embraced. Imagine for a moment what it might have been like to encounter Diogenes on the streets of Athens. With no possessions beyond his cloak and staff, he would have been a stark contrast to the opulence around him. His presence served as a continual reminder that true autonomy is found not in the accumulation of material goods, but in the freedom from such dependencies. This simple choice resonated deeply, highlighting the link between simplicity and personal freedom that Diogenes so passionately advocated for. One such movement deeply influenced by Diogenes was Stoicism, which emerged around 300 BCE. The Stoics adopted many of his principles, including the pursuit of simplicity and virtue. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium, was inspired by Diogenes' rejection of material wealth and his advocacy for a life dedicated to ethics and self-sufficiency. This simple yet powerful idea that true happiness comes from aligning one's actions with the natural world became a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Cynics, another philosophical school inspired by Diogenes, continued to emphasize his principles of simplicity and resistance to social conventions. Diogenes' legacy as a critic of societal norms and an advocate for personal freedom left an enduring impact, inspiring generations of philosophers to challenge the status quo. His ideas and lifestyle continue to influence modern thought, reminding us that true happiness and freedom often lie in simplicity and adherence to ethical principles. Thus, Diogenes' advocacy for simplicity and virtue has not only endured but also evolved, shaping philosophical movements that continue to resonate today. Diogenes of Sinope was not just a philosopher, but a radical figure who challenged the very foundations of societal norms. Unlike his peers, Diogenes rejected the idea of a class system and its inherent hierarchies. He believed that social hierarchy was an artificial construct created to maintain power imbalances among people. Diogenes saw through the facade and advocated for a society where all individuals were treated equally, regardless of their birth or wealth. His views on equality were not just theoretical, they were lived out in his daily life. Diogenes believed that true virtue and wisdom came from living a simple, self-sufficient life rather than pursuing wealth or status. Real-life examples of his rejection of hierarchy abound. Once, when the philosopher Plato defined humans as featherless bipeds, Diogenes plucked a chicken and brought it to Plato's academy, demonstrating that definitions are often arbitrary and used to maintain social hierarchies. In his interactions with others, Diogenes showed no deference to their perceived social standing. He believed that everyone, regardless of their birth or achievements, should be treated with the same respect and dignity. By living out his beliefs in such a radical way, Diogenes challenged not only societal norms but also the very concept of social hierarchy itself. His advocacy for equality and simplicity demonstrated that true greatness lies not in wealth or status, but in virtue and wisdom. Thus, Diogenes' critique of social structures serves as a powerful reminder that true equality is not just a concept, but a way of life that can be lived out by anyone willing to challenge the status quo. In the bustling city of Athens, Diogenes made a powerful statement about wealth and society. While others built grand homes and accumulated material possessions, Diogenes chose to live in a large ceramic jar or tub. His unconventional lifestyle was not just about simplicity, but also a critique of the prevailing societal norms. Diogenes viewed wealth accumulation as a form of excess that undermined true virtue and self-sufficiency. In ancient Athens, the pursuit of wealth was seen as a path to prestige and power. Diogenes argued that this pursuit often led people away from living virtuously. He believed that the more one accumulated, the less they truly needed and understood the value of simplicity. In his view, wealth often created a barrier between people and their ability to live simply and ethically. Diogenes' radical lifestyle was a stark contrast to the opulence and excess he witnessed around him. By choosing to live in such humble conditions, he demonstrated his commitment to virtue over material wealth. His actions served as a powerful reminder that true value lies not in what one owns, but in how one lives. It's interesting to note that Diogenes was not just known for his unconventional lifestyle, but also for his critique of traditional education methods. He believed that the educational system of his time was flawed in its emphasis on theory over practical experience. Instead, Diogenes advocated for a form of education that focused on real-world application and experiential learning. He thought that by immersing oneself in the practical aspects of life, one could gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for virtue and simplicity. Diogenes' approach to education was radical because it challenged the societal norms that valued bookish knowledge over practical skills. He believed that true learning comes not from abstract theories, but from experiencing life firsthand. This emphasis on practical experience was meant to cultivate a sense of self-sufficiency and ethical integrity in individuals. By living in his tub, Diogenes demonstrated the Cynic principle that true value comes not from wealth or status, but from a life lived simply and virtuously. His unconventional views on education ultimately promoted the idea that simplicity and virtue are at the core of a meaningful life. In ancient Greece, the concept of romantic love was deeply intertwined with societal expectations and norms. Diogenes, known for his unconventional lifestyle, saw these expectations as artificial constructs that often impeded true virtue. He believed that monogamy, while often idealized, was merely a societal convention that could be dispensed with. In one of his famous anecdotes, Diogenes is said to have walked in on a couple engaged in intimate acts and remarked that their behavior was no different from animals. This story reflects his stance on the necessity of romantic relationships, which he saw as unnecessary for a virtuous life. He believed that true virtue could be achieved without the complexities and expectations that came with traditional romantic attachments. In his view, romantic relationships often served as a distraction from the pursuit of true wisdom and self-sufficiency. This unconventional approach challenged the conventional notions of love and relationships that were prevalent in ancient Greece. Diogenes' perspective on romantic relationships demonstrated his belief that simplicity and virtue are at the core of a meaningful life, even if it meant going against societal norms. His views continue to resonate today, inviting us to question the expectations and complexities that often surround modern relationships. He believed that happiness and fulfillment could be found in simplicity and self-reliance, rather than the complexities of society. This act of observing the natural behavior of others was a core aspect of Diogenes' philosophy, highlighting how societal norms can cloud our true nature. His unconventional behavior was meant to provoke thought and challenge the status quo, inviting others to question their own assumptions about what it means to live virtuously. In a world where materialism and social hierarchy were deeply ingrained, Diogenes' philosophy offered a radical alternative. True happiness lies in self-sufficiency and simplicity. This stark image is not just a display of extreme asceticism, but a powerful statement about the value of self-sufficiency over societal norms. Diogenes' legacy continues to challenge us to consider what truly matters in life and how our pursuit of happiness can be shaped by the principles of simplicity and self-reliance. Instead, he believed in living a life of radical simplicity and virtue. Even when the great Alexander the Great visited Athens and sought out Diogenes, he found him lounging in his tub. Alexander asked if there was anything he could do for Diogenes, to which Diogenes replied, "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." This anecdote perfectly illustrates Diogenes' unwavering stance against hypocrisy and artificial standards. For Diogenes, the natural order of things was the ultimate moral law, uncorrupted by human convention. Political power, for Diogenes, was an abuse of authority that undermined the natural order and simplicity he valued so deeply. He believed that those who wielded political power often did so to serve their own interests rather than the common good. This audacious act was not just a display of defiance, but a stark commentary on the nature of power itself. Diogenes saw political power as a corrupting influence that could blind even the mightiest of rulers to their true purpose. He envisioned a simple, just society where virtue and honesty were the cornerstones of governance. This commitment to exposing corruption and advocating for virtue is what makes Diogenes' philosophy so enduring. In ancient Greece, the pursuit of pleasure was often seen as essential to happiness. However, Diogenes believed that true happiness lies not in sensual pleasures, but in simplicity and virtue. He argued that the constant chase for more, whether it be wealth, status, or physical gratification, only leads to a life of dissatisfaction and moral decay. Diogenes saw that this endless pursuit left people unable to find contentment, always yearning for something more or better. His belief in the virtue of simplicity was so profound that he chose to live in a tub as a public demonstration against materialism. This radical lifestyle was his way of showing that true happiness comes from living virtuously, not from accumulating wealth or chasing pleasures. His unconventional behavior, while often criticized, served as a beacon for those who sought an alternative path to happiness, one rooted in simplicity and moral integrity. In Stoicism, this state of inner peace is known as ataraxia, a tranquility achieved through the acceptance of one's circumstances and the absence of fear or desire. Diogenes' unconventional lifestyle was a direct challenge to societal norms that often equated happiness with material wealth and status. His choice to live in a ceramic jar was more than just an act of defiance. It was a statement on the futility of chasing material possessions. By living in such simplicity, Diogenes sought to demonstrate that true happiness lies not in what we possess, but in how we perceive and respond to our surroundings. He believed that simplicity aids in achieving inner peace by eliminating the distractions caused by an abundance of material goods. Diogenes' life was a testament to his philosophy that the path to true contentment lies in embracing simplicity and virtue. His choices were not aimed at deprivation, but rather at finding a state of tranquil happiness within the constraints of his circumstances. For Diogenes, the journey to genuine happiness began with letting go of the desire for material possessions and embracing a life of simplicity. Diogenes of Sinope is perhaps best remembered for his unconventional lifestyle, a stark critique of materialistic society. He saw materialism as a corrupting force that distorts our values and blinds us to what truly matters. Diogenes believed that material wealth often leads to greed and a constant desire for more. He argued that this endless pursuit of material goods hinders our ability to cultivate virtue. Diogenes' critique of materialistic society was profound and far-reaching. By living in a tub and rejecting conventional societal norms, Diogenes demonstrated the depth of his challenge to materialistic values. In the heart of ancient Athens, amidst the bustling marketplace and grand temples, there lived a man who chose to reside in a humble tub. This was Diogenes of Sinope, a philosopher who believed that the pursuit of wisdom was more valuable than any worldly possession. For Diogenes, true wisdom could not be found in the lavish banquets or the grand houses of the wealthy. Instead, he saw it as something that could only be attained through a life of simplicity and constant philosophical inquiry. He believed that societal norms, with their emphasis on wealth and status, were obstacles that hindered the pursuit of true knowledge. Diogenes' choice to live in a tub was not merely a statement against materialism, it was a testament to his commitment to a life dedicated to the pursuit of wisdom. In this simple existence, he found the freedom to question, explore, and seek the truths that lay beyond the superficial trappings of society. By embracing such radical simplicity, Diogenes demonstrated how the true essence of wisdom could be found not in possessions, but in a deep understanding of oneself and the world. This pursuit of wisdom was not just an intellectual exercise for Diogenes, it was a way to live a virtuous life. His unconventional choices were a profound statement about the value of wisdom in guiding one's actions in life. Diogenes saw corruption as a pervasive force that erodes societal integrity. In his view, wealth and power were not mere tools, but temptations that clouded judgment and led to moral decay. He believed that those who hold wealth and power tend to prioritize their own interests over the well-being of others. For Diogenes, this misalignment of priorities was the root cause of corruption. He argued that luxury and excess were not innocent indulgences but symptoms of a deeper moral malaise. Diogenes saw his radical lifestyle as a direct countermeasure to the corrosive effects of societal corruption. By embracing simplicity and rejecting material possessions, he aimed to free himself from the corrupting influences of wealth and power. In this way, Diogenes demonstrated that virtue could be cultivated even in the face of societal corruption. His commitment to simplicity and virtue served as a powerful statement against the moral decay he observed around him. To understand his impact, we need to delve into his unconventional lifestyle. He rejected traditional social roles, including marriage and family life, which were considered essential by many of his contemporaries. Diogenes saw these obligations as distractions from the pursuit of simplicity and virtue. He believed that societal expectations often lead to a life filled with unnecessary complications and materialism. Instead of conforming to these norms, Diogenes chose to live in a barrel, a symbolic rejection of materialism and conventional living. By refusing to participate in what others saw as essential aspects of life, Diogenes challenged the status quo and forced people to question their own values. He critiqued rituals, traditions, and customs that he saw as hollow or superficial. For Diogenes, the pomp and ceremony of religious ceremonies held little value if they did not reflect true virtue. In a society that valued elaborate legal proceedings, Diogenes' simple living highlighted the gap between appearances and reality. By demonstrating that one could live happily with very little, he challenged cultural values that he believed detracted from true virtue and simplicity. By living in his jar, Diogenes invited others to consider whether their own lives were as simple and virtuous as they could be. His actions served as a constant reminder that true virtue is not found in material wealth or societal status, but in the inner qualities of simplicity and self-sufficiency. By challenging cultural norms, Diogenes forced people to confront their own values and consider whether they were living lives of true virtue. This challenge continues to resonate today, inviting us to question our own cultural values and strive for a life of simplicity and virtue. His choice of residence was not merely eccentric, but a deliberate act to challenge societal norms and advocate for simplicity and virtue. Diogenes believed that personal discipline was key to achieving this state of virtue. He taught that self-control was essential in mastering the desires and passions that often lead people astray from a virtuous life. To cultivate this discipline, Diogenes advocated for specific practices such as fasting and sleeping on hard surfaces. These austere conditions were not merely endured, but embraced as a means to strengthen the soul against external temptations. By living in such an ascetic manner, Diogenes aimed to strip away the luxuries and comforts that often cloud our judgment and hinder true virtue. His radical lifestyle serves as a stark reminder of how self-control can be a powerful tool in living simply and virtuously. While many in ancient Greece aspired to displays of wealth and status, Diogenes rejected such ostentatious behavior outright. He saw no value in expensive clothing or lavish homes, instead choosing to live simply and virtuously. His choice of dwelling was not just an act of simplicity, but a direct challenge to those who believed that wealth and status were essential aspects of life. By living in such humble surroundings, Diogenes demonstrated the principle of humility and the importance of focusing on inner virtue rather than outward appearance. He believed that true worth was not found in material possessions, but in the integrity and simplicity of one's character. In an age where public displays of wealth were commonplace, Diogenes stood out as a beacon of humility and simplicity. His radical lifestyle served to highlight the emptiness of ostentatious behavior, advocating for a life centered on inner virtues rather than external appearances. The choice to live in such humble surroundings served multiple purposes. For one, it was a stark critique of the wealth accumulation that was prevalent in Athenian society. Diogenes saw wealth not as a sign of success or status, but often as a hindrance to true virtue and inner peace. By living in poverty, he was able to advocate for a lifestyle that defied the materialism of his time. He believed that true spiritual freedom could not be found in abundance, but rather in embracing voluntary poverty. This radical view challenged societal norms and emphasized the importance of inner virtues over external appearances. Through his actions and teachings, Diogenes challenged the materialistic values of his society, advocating instead for a life centered on inner virtues rather than external appearances. Diogenes of Sinope is famously known for his unconventional approach to learning and philosophy. Unlike many philosophers of his time, Diogenes did not believe in the power of formal education alone. Instead, he advocated for a different path to knowledge and virtue, one that emphasized real-world experiences over traditional schooling. Diogenes believed that true wisdom could not be gained from textbooks or lectures, but rather from the school of life itself. This approach to education profoundly influenced his views on virtue and simplicity. In a society where formal education was highly revered, Diogenes' unconventional approach challenged societal norms by advocating for a non-traditional path to knowledge and virtue. Diogenes saw formal education as often disconnected from the realities of daily life, leading him to question its value in developing true wisdom and character. He believed that practical experiences provided a deeper understanding of the world and fostered more authentic virtue than any amount of theoretical knowledge. In his iconic encounter with Alexander the Great, Diogenes demonstrated this principle, showing that true greatness comes not from wealth or power, but from inner virtue and wisdom gained through experience. Beyond challenging the power of kings, Diogenes also questioned the very foundations of traditional family structures and social obligations. He believed that societal expectations regarding marriage, children, and familial roles were often obstacles to personal freedom and virtue. For Diogenes, the pursuit of virtue was a solitary endeavor, unencumbered by the responsibilities and constraints that came with family life. His critique was not merely philosophical, it was also deeply personal. Living in a large ceramic jar or tub, Diogenes embodied his rejection of conventional societal norms. His unconventional lifestyle was a stark contrast to the typical Athenian family, where marriage and children were seen as essential for social status. By choosing to live outside these norms, Diogenes challenged the very notion that family and social obligations were necessary for a virtuous life. His actions were not just symbolic, they embodied a profound philosophy that valued individual freedom and personal integrity above all else. Diogenes' radical perspective on family and social obligations offers another glimpse into how he challenged societal norms by advocating for a simpler, more virtuous lifestyle. In this way, his life and teachings continue to inspire thought and reflection on the true nature of virtue and personal freedom. He argued that organized religion often served as a vehicle for societal control rather than genuine spiritual exploration. Diogenes believed in the power of individual spirituality, advocating for personal quests over institutionalized faith. His views on religious institutions aligned with his broader rejection of societal norms. Just as he discarded material possessions to live simply, Diogenes urged individuals to question the dogmas and rituals imposed by institutional faith. This radical lifestyle embodied his critique of organized religion. He believed that true spirituality resided in personal reflection and ethical living, not in the rituals and ceremonies dictated by institutions. This anecdote underscores Diogenes' commitment to individual truth and simplicity over the grandeur of institutions. He challenged the very idea that spiritual authority should come from external sources. Diogenes' radical lifestyle extended beyond his tub in the Athenian agora. He believed in a concept that is now known as Cosmopolitanism, the idea that one can be a global citizen unattached to any particular place or nation. This philosophy of global citizenship was deeply intertwined with Diogenes' belief in universal brotherhood. He saw all humans as equals, bound by a shared humanity rather than arbitrary borders. In one of his famous dialogues, Diogenes challenged the notion that nationality or birthplace mattered. When asked where he came from, he replied not with a place name but with the phrase, "I am a citizen of the world." This view was profoundly influential in shaping what we now know as Cynic philosophy. Diogenes believed that true virtue and simplicity transcend geographical boundaries. He saw the divisions created by national borders as artificial and superficial. To him, these divisions served only to create unnecessary barriers between people. Diogenes' ideas on cosmopolitanism are still relevant today, advocating for a world where borders and nationalities do not dictate our sense of belonging or community. His vision of global citizenship implies that we are all part of a broader human family, regardless of where we were born or live. This philosophy underscores the idea that true virtue and simplicity are not confined to specific places or cultures, but are universal principles applicable to all. In Diogenes' view, our connections as humans extend beyond the confines of any one nation. We are global citizens, bound by a shared experience and responsibility. For Diogenes, the environment wasn't just a backdrop to human affairs, it was an integral part of life itself. His simple lifestyle reflected this deep environmental consciousness. He believed in living in a way that didn't exploit or harm the natural world around him. In his view, our connections as humans extend not only to each other but also to every creature and plant we share this planet with. Imagine for a moment Diogenes in his tub. He didn't need much space, and thus he wasn't using more resources than were necessary. This was a radical idea at the time, a rejection of the norms that encouraged excess. He understood that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but also for future generations and the environment as a whole. His lifestyle was a practical application of this understanding. In essence, Diogenes' rejection of materialism extended to a profound respect for the natural world. This wasn't just about personal virtue. It was about recognizing our place in a larger ecosystem and acting accordingly. His unconventional lifestyle was not only a statement of individual freedom, but also a testament to his belief that humans should live in harmony with the environment, not against it. And so, in a city known for its grandeur and ostentation, Diogenes lived out his philosophy in a simple tub, demonstrating that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in our connection to nature and each other. This simple act of living in harmony with the environment highlighted Diogenes' commitment to simplicity and virtue, values that continue to resonate today. By adopting this starkly simple way of life, Diogenes challenged the very notion of what it meant to be civilized and virtuous. In his view, true virtue lay not in wealth or status, but in a commitment to simplicity and natural order. He believed that a society without unnecessary rules or hierarchies would be a more virtuous one. Diogenes envisioned anarchy not as chaos, but as a state of simplicity and natural order where individuals could live in harmony with each other and with nature. By living in harmony with the environment, Diogenes highlighted the absurdity of societal norms that promoted materialism and complexity. His unconventional lifestyle was a continuous critique of the artificiality of Athenian society, advocating for a simpler, more virtuous way of living. By demonstrating a life of radical simplicity, Diogenes challenged conventional social structures and advocated for a society without unnecessary rules or hierarchies. This unconventional residence was not just about living simply, but also about making a statement. Diogenes believed that elaborate language and empty rhetoric were part of the superficiality he sought to challenge. He disdained the flowery speeches and grand gestures that many philosophers of his time used. Instead, Diogenes advocated for simple, straightforward communication. He saw the power of words not in their ornamentation, but in their ability to convey truth honestly. When asked why he lived in such a humble abode, Diogenes replied, "To show that a man can live simply without the need for excessive luxury or complex societal rules." This philosophy extended to his views on language. By advocating for simplicity in communication as well, Diogenes further emphasized the virtues of authenticity and honesty. This was no mere eccentricity. It was a deliberate rejection of the comfort zones that defined society's norms. By sleeping in a tub, he eschewed the luxury of 4 walls and a roof. Diogenes' choice to live on the streets was not simply an act of poverty, but a statement against materialism. His meals were simple, often consisting of lentils and onions, rejecting the elaborate banquets of the wealthy. These radical choices challenged the status quo of his time, where wealth and social standing were highly prized. His lifestyle was an active rebellion against societal norms, promoting the idea that true happiness comes from within, not from external possessions. Diogenes' critique of authority was not merely theoretical, it was a lived philosophy that challenged the very foundations of societal norms and power structures. In ancient Greece, authority was often tied to wealth, social status, or political might. Diogenes saw this as a corrupting influence that warped the true nature of human interactions and virtue. He believed in living according to natural law rather than man-made rules, which he considered artificial and often hypocritical. This act was not just a humorous anecdote, but a profound statement against the notion that power or wealth should grant special privileges. Diogenes believed that true virtue and happiness came from simplicity, self-sufficiency, and living in harmony with nature, not from the trappings of authority. And this challenge to societal norms was bold and provocative, showing that true happiness does not come from external possessions or status, but from within. Diogenes of Sinope, the iconic Cynic philosopher, was not content with merely challenging societal norms through words alone. He lived a radical life of simplicity and self-sufficiency to demonstrate his beliefs in action. Central to his philosophy was the rejection of artificial needs, luxuries, and non-essential items that society often prioritizes. He argued that by reducing one's needs to the essentials, one could achieve a more virtuous existence. By rejecting artificial needs and advocating for self-sufficiency, Diogenes challenged societal norms of his time and continues to influence thought today. In choosing this stark lifestyle, Diogenes demonstrated his belief in the power of self-control over the pursuit of comforts. He saw the jar as a humble shelter that met basic needs without the trappings of wealth or status. Self-control, to Diogenes, was not just about denying oneself pleasure, it was a pathway to virtue. By living simply and forgoing material comforts, he believed that individuals could cultivate inner strength and moral integrity. This philosophy challenged the societal norms of his time, where indulgence and extravagance were often seen as signs of success. Diogenes argued that true greatness lay not in accumulating riches, but in mastering one's desires. In the Athens of his time, wealth was often flaunted through grand displays of luxury. Diogenes, however, rejected this ostentatious lifestyle. Diogenes' rejection of wealth was more than just a personal preference. It was a radical act of rebellion against the established social order. In a society where status was determined by one's lineage and social standing, Diogenes saw these traditional markers as hollow and meaningless. Diogenes lived his philosophy, embodying the principles he preached. He owned little more than a cloak, a staff, and at one point, not even a bowl. His extreme simplicity was designed to provoke thought about what truly constitutes value in society. His actions served as a stark contrast to the societal norms of his time, prompting people to question the very foundations on which they based their lives. He lived in a large ceramic jar and wore little more than a cloak, questioning the value of material possessions. He believed that individuals should question and challenge these norms in pursuit of personal authenticity and virtue. Diogenes critiqued the tendency of people to blindly follow social conventions. He advocated for independent thought and action over mere conformity, believing that true virtue lies in living authentically. His unconventional behavior highlighted his stance on the importance of independent thought and action over conformity to societal norms. His most striking choice was to live in extreme austerity. He believed that self-imposed hardship was a pathway to mental strength and moral clarity. He discarded many material possessions, including his only bowl, after seeing a child drink water with his hands. This action symbolized his commitment to simplicity and resistance to materialism. The jar became a symbol of his conviction that true virtue and mental strength can be achieved through voluntary austerity. It was a bold statement against the materialism and social conventions of his time. Diogenes believed that by removing unnecessary luxuries and distractions, one could focus more clearly on what truly matters in life, virtue and moral clarity. This radical approach to living challenged the norms of his society, which often valued wealth, status, and comfort above all else. His unconventional lifestyle was a form of resistance against these values. Diogenes' influence on the Cynics was profound. He embodied their principles, living a dog-like existence that prioritized moral sincerity and resisted societal expectations. His legacy continues to inspire thought on the importance of simplicity and virtue in a world often dominated by materialism and superficiality. Through his unconventional lifestyle, Diogenes demonstrated that simplicity and virtue can be achieved through self-imposed austerity. His conviction that true strength comes from within rather than from external comforts remains a timeless and relevant philosophy. He famously discarded his bowl after observing a child drink water with his hands, symbolizing his rejection of unnecessary items. Diogenes' critique extended to societal norms that valued wealth and status over authentic living. In practice, he chose to live in a large ceramic jar or tub, which became an iconic symbol of his commitment to simplicity. His unconventional lifestyle served as a stark contrast to the materialistic values prevalent in Athens. Diogenes believed that true strength and virtue come from within, not from external comforts or wealth. His philosophy remains a timeless testament to the power of simplicity and self-reliance in promoting genuine virtues. Diogenes, the legendary Cynic philosopher, held a radical perspective on human nature. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he believed that humans are inherently simple creatures, unencumbered by artificial needs and societal norms. His view was that civilization has corrupted our natural state, obscuring our true selves with unnecessary complexity and materialism. Diogenes advocated for a return to what he saw as the human's natural state, simplicity and self-reliance. This was not just an abstract philosophical stance, but a way of life that he actively embraced. He famously discarded his cup after seeing a child drink water with their hands, realizing that even this simple tool was not truly necessary. His life was marked by extreme asceticism, including sleeping in public spaces and forgoing many of the comforts that others considered essential. To him, These were artificial needs imposed by society, not natural requirements of human existence. In rejecting these norms, Diogenes sought to reveal our true nature, one that is content with minimal possessions and unburdened by the complexities of civilization. The philosopher's radical lifestyle was a direct challenge to societal expectations and a call to return to what he considered the natural state of humanity. His resistance to these norms was a profound statement on the need for humans to simplify their lives and reconnect with their essential nature. For Diogenes, the very foundations of civilization itself were a target for critique. While most Athenians embraced city life, seeing it as the pinnacle of human achievement, Diogenes saw something fundamentally flawed. He believed that urban living corrupted people's virtues. In cities, wealth and status became the primary goals, rather than self-sufficiency and simplicity. The trappings of civilization were seen as distractions from what truly mattered. Imagine a man who lived in a simple barrel to reject the materialism that plagued society. This was Diogenes, embodying his philosophy of simplicity and virtue. His criticism of civilization extended beyond the material possessions. He questioned the need for laws and governance, advocating instead for natural behaviors guided by personal ethics. For Diogenes, the ideal life was one spent in rural settings, closer to nature and less influenced by societal pressures. Here, he believed, people could return to their natural state of simplicity. He saw the countryside as a sanctuary where one could live in accordance with nature, free from the artificial constraints imposed by civilization. In doing so, he challenged not just the norms of his time, but the very foundations upon which civilized life was built. His unconventional lifestyle became a beacon for those seeking a more virtuous and simple existence. And with that, Diogenes' critique of civilization was not just an attack on urban living, but a call to reevaluate the essence of human values and the pursuit of virtue. Diogenes' extreme lifestyle was not merely a rejection of societal norms, but a radical advocacy for simplicity and virtue. He believed that self-deprivation was a path to inner strength and wisdom, challenging the materialistic culture of Athens at its core. Imagine sleeping in nothing more than a clay jar or tub. This was not just an eccentric choice, but a deliberate act of deprivation that Diogenes saw as essential to his philosophical journey. He owned nothing, not even property or wealth, believing these to be obstacles on the path to true wisdom and virtue. His unconventional living arrangements stood in stark contrast to the luxury-seeking culture of Athens. This request, though humble, carried a profound message. Wealth and status were no match for simplicity and natural light. It was Diogenes' way of illustrating the importance of what truly matters. His commitment to simplicity was not just about personal austerity, but a critique of the excesses he saw around him. In Athens, where luxury was revered, Diogenes' choices were a bold counterpoint. He didn't claim to be searching for a lost treasure or even a missing person. Instead, he said he was looking for an honest man. Diogenes used this simple yet powerful image to highlight the hypocrisy of those who claimed to uphold truth and virtue, but failed to live by these values. He wasn't just performing a philosophical exercise. He was making a stark point about the state of society around him. Imagine the audacity, a humble philosopher telling one of history's greatest conquerors to move aside. But this wasn't just about ego or defiance. It was another act of satire, a commentary on the disparity between perceived greatness and true virtue. His unconventional behavior was not just a personal choice. It was a powerful critique of what he saw as the stagnation and superficiality within society. Diogenes believed that many people had become complacent with cultural norms, accepting them without question or thought. This was not mere defiance. It was a commentary on the disparity between perceived greatness and true virtue. Diogenes believed that true worth should be measured by one's actions, not by titles or status. He held that questioning societal norms and cultural values was essential for individual growth and societal progress. In a world where many were content to follow traditions blindly, Diogenes advocated for continual questioning and critique. His philosophy of cynicism emphasized living simply and virtuously, rejecting the materialism and superficiality that he saw as hindrances to true happiness. For Diogenes, cultural complacency was a barrier to genuine self-discovery and moral growth. This seemingly simple request was a powerful commentary on societal hypocrisy. It demonstrated that true greatness and virtue were not about wealth or status, but about honest living and humility. By living as Diogenes the dog, he showed that true virtue and wisdom lay not in conforming to societal expectations, but in forging one's own path with honesty and integrity. His philosophy challenged the hypocrisy of a society that valued appearances over substance and sought to expose the shallow nature of its moral claims. This critique further enriches our understanding of Diogenes' commitment to virtue and simplicity in a corrupt society. The principles of asceticism, autarky, and cosmopolitanism promoted by Diogenes did not remain confined to ancient Greece. His teachings resonated with later ascetic movements across different cultures and periods. Christian monasticism, for instance, drew inspiration from Diogenes' advocacy for a life dedicated to simplicity and virtue. The Desert Fathers of early Christianity adopted ascetic practices, living in isolation with minimal possessions, much like Diogenes did centuries before them. In the 4th century CE, Saint Anthony of Egypt left his comfortable life to live as a hermit in the desert, rejecting worldly goods and embracing a simple, virtuous existence, echoing Diogenes' principles. Other philosophical schools also embraced Diogenes' teachings on simplicity and self-denial. Stoicism, which emphasizes living in accordance with nature and personal virtue, found common ground with Cynic principles. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from aligning one's life with natural order and moral duty, a concept closely aligned with Diogenes' critique of societal excesses. Diogenes' legacy is seen in the enduring influence of his radical ideas on various cultural and philosophical traditions, demonstrating how simplicity and virtue continue to resonate across time. He believed that the pursuit of status and power was inherently corrupting, leading to inequality and injustice. In ancient Greece, where hierarchies were deeply ingrained, Diogenes saw how the pursuit of power led to corruption and inequality. For instance, the city-states were often ruled by tyrants who exploited their power for personal gain. Diogenes criticized these leaders for their greed and self-interest, arguing that true leadership should be based on virtue and the common good. He believed that social ambition was a dangerous force that drove people to act against their better nature. According to Diogenes, the pursuit of power and status created divisions within society, pitting citizens against one another. While Diogenes of Cynic rejected the pursuit of power and status, his views on poverty were equally radical. He believed that wealth should be distributed more evenly among society's members to ensure everyone had the means to live a simple and virtuous life. In Athens, where stark inequalities were commonplace, Diogenes challenged the prevailing norm that accumulating wealth was a sign of success. To Diogenes, poverty was not a state to be avoided but rather an opportunity to live more virtuously. He argued that living with minimal resources forced individuals to rely on their own strength and ingenuity. His radical lifestyle was a testament to his conviction that true wealth lay not in material possessions but in one's moral character. In a world where status was often equated with riches, Diogenes' teachings advocated for a different measure of success, one based on virtue and simplicity. His critiques were sharp and often delivered with a biting wit that made his points all the more poignant. His teachings continue to challenge societal norms and advocate for a simpler life focused on virtue rather than wealth accumulation. As we explore the depth of Diogenes' views, it becomes clear that his unconventional lifestyle was a powerful statement against societal norms surrounding wealth and power. His radical simplicity not only challenged the status quo, but also offered a vision of a more equitable and virtuous society. He rejected societal expectations that encourage material wealth and possessions, instead promoting an existence focused on spiritual growth and inner peace. Diogenes argued that owning superfluous possessions only served to distract from the true path of virtue and self-understanding. He believed that material excess created a barrier between oneself and the pure essence of life, clouding judgment and moral clarity. His radical simplicity was not just a lifestyle choice, but a deeply held philosophical belief that challenged societal values and emphasized the pursuit of virtue over material wealth. Diogenes believed that self-control was the key to achieving inner peace and freedom from desire. This philosophy was at the heart of his unconventional lifestyle, which challenged societal norms and advocated for simplicity and virtue. For Diogenes, asceticism, the practice of severe self-discipline and abstention from indulgence, was deeply connected to his rejection of material wealth. He saw no need for the comforts and conveniences that society often prizes, believing that true happiness comes from within, not from external possessions or status. This radical simplicity was a stark contrast to the materialistic values of his time. Diogenes' philosophy emphasized that self-control is essential for leading a virtuous life, emphasizing simplicity over societal norms and material wealth. His unconventional lifestyle was a powerful statement against the superficiality and hypocrisy he saw in Athenian society. For Diogenes, the pursuit of wisdom came from personal experience and observation, rather than academic lectures or texts. He saw formal education as a barrier to genuine understanding, arguing that it often led people astray with empty theories and disconnected knowledge. In one of his most famous anecdotes, Diogenes confronted Plato, a prominent philosopher known for his academic teachings, telling him that he was merely painting a portrait of virtue rather than embodying it. This encounter highlights Diogenes' belief that true wisdom and virtue cannot be taught or learned through formal instruction, but must be lived and experienced firsthand. His views on education were an extension of this philosophy, emphasizing practical knowledge over abstract theories. Ultimately, Diogenes' critique of formal education was a call to experience life directly, rather than relying on second-hand teachings. In Athenian society, sumptuary laws were enacted to regulate personal expenses and ostentatious displays of wealth. These laws aimed to control how much individuals could spend on luxuries such as clothing, food, and entertainment. Diogenes, however, saw these laws not as a means of maintaining order, but as an impediment to individual freedom and virtue. To him, the idea that one's worth could be measured by their possessions was a perversion of true values. By rejecting sumptuary laws, Diogenes was making a statement about the nature of freedom and the pursuit of genuine virtue. His actions were a call to question societal norms and to strive for authenticity in one's life. Instead of relying on wealth or luxury, Diogenes frequented the marketplace to gather simple meals. This wasn't just a matter of economics, but a conscious choice to live modestly and within his means. His shelter was often public spaces, from open courtyards to stoas-covered walkways where he could rest. Using what was readily available, Diogenes demonstrated that comfort didn't require personal property or status. Even his bed wasn't a typical one. Reports tell us that he slept in large jars, an unconventional choice that emphasized his belief in simplicity and resistance to materialism. Diogenes didn't shy away from physical labor either. He would often perform menial tasks, such as grinding grain, to meet his basic needs. This wasn't merely out of necessity, but a deliberate act to embody the virtues of hard work and self-reliance. Through these daily routines, Diogenes showed that one could live a life of dignity and virtue without succumbing to societal pressures for wealth or luxury. His lifestyle was not just a philosophical statement, but a practical demonstration of his beliefs and action. Imagine, if you will, Diogenes grinding grain with his bare hands under the Athenian sun, a stark contrast to those who relied on servants or slaves for such tasks. This was more than just a means of sustenance. It was a bold assertion of personal independence and ethical living. He believed that true freedom wasn't found in the abundance of goods or the accumulation of wealth, but in the ability to meet one's own needs with dignity and integrity. By embracing a life of simplicity, Diogenes challenged the norms of his time and advocated for a more virtuous way of living. And so, in every aspect of his daily life, from eating to sleeping to working, Diogenes practiced what he preached. His unconventional lifestyle was not just a theoretical ideal, but a tangible reality that resonated deeply with those who sought genuine virtue and authenticity in their own lives.